Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Shadow bringing you guys the last video for my Blackbeard locals of last week. Facing my opponent is using a Luffy. I believe I won dice roll and chose to go first. I know you want to take first from Luffy or Dofi, which kind of puts you at the odd curve, so it throws my curve off, but it's okay. At least we get it started opening up with stage, pitching the strong and grabbing the Burgess. He's gonna open up with the law, and sometimes we could be punished because maybe it's a double law, and then if I do find Luffy, it will get knocked. So ends up finding a Luffy Taro, which is what Luffy wants to look for. They want to combo that Luffy Taro on their turn 7 with the Sangoro or the Zorojoro or anything to at least put 2 bodies on the field. So as Blackbeard, I will not be pitching for leader ability until basically until my opponent's gonna go into their 7 Dawn turn. So I do play out the Luffy and use its ability, and I end up grabbing a My Era Begins. I did pitch Burgess to use that ability, and in here debating between grabbing the Van Augur or the Teach, but obviously you see I grabbed the Teach. Want to get those pieces into my hand, because if not, that Teach will be going to the trash and I will not be able to use it at all. I do not run the Mancherry tech anymore, so there's no throwing it back into the deck. So past the turn here, he uses his leader ability, taking a life, ramping up to 5, swings his law at the Lafitte, which is fine. Usually the Lafitte's a baby blocker from leader attack, but since he does have his own 1 cost, it's just free for him. Swing 6 at my life, I take it. You see I grab another stage, which is okay. It's going to be trash filter, or filter for searching. And he plays out the 2K. I think it's like Hitakori Kamazo or something. But when my opponent Don minuses, he is able to pop a 2K or 2 cost or less. So this deck does do a decent amount of Don minusing, but with me using my leader ability, because at this point I'm gonna have to use my leader ability since next turn he will be at 7 Don. There's not going to be much Don minusing going on my opponent's side of the field. I still want to get rid of it though, because it's going to be a 5K basically swinging at me. But at first I just established a Van Augur. Van Augur will be able to reduce it by 3, and all I need to do is find a dot Q and it'll be a free knock. But unfortunately it does stick for his turn, which means he will be able to get a swing in at me. So it's Hitokiri Kamazu. Yep, so when he does return down, 2 or less can get popped. So he swings 5 with the Hitokiri. I end up taking it. And here he swings the leader. I do pitch a dot Q because I have another one. And at this point, I have to figure out exactly how I want to remove the field. And you're going to see I'm going to do it a little bit awkward. I swing 5 at the Hitokiri first because I know he's going to pitch a card to try to save it, which he does, pitching the Sanji. And you see here I'm separating the Don because I have to do this correctly. So I'm going to Van Augur, or well, first looks I'm starting off with Stronger. So Stronger is going to use its own ability to trash itself and trash 1 card from my hand, and it's going to allow me to give something -2. And you see here I'm deciding what to pitch, and I pitch another Stronger, which is another 2K to knock, or to give the -2 and then finger pistol the Luffy Taro, and then I do Van Augur and dot Q the Hitokiri. So I was able to remove both bodies off the field. The only drawback was the Stronger. I do lose a card from hand doing this. It does replace what I pitch, but it doesn't replace itself. So already down a card this turn, and then now I also have to pitch for my leader ability. And you see I am looking at my trash, deciding on what I want to pitch, and I decided pitching the 10 drop because I have a good chance of potentially finding another one before I get to my 10 Don. So he swings at the dot Q. I end up drawing into a black hole. It's something that you do want to get rid of as soon as possible, because with the dot Q it is going to allow me to reduce and pop anything that's a 4 cost or less. But at this point late in the game, The Luffy is just going to be slamming down pretty much majority big bodies. But he does start off with, well, he does do a law and a bond clay, which both are obtainable with the dot Q, since I do have the Van Auger. So I have to figure out exactly how to remove it. I do have the black hole, which is able to remove either one. So I'm going to choose the bond clay. And the reason why I'm going to do this is because you see I am establishing a Burgess. And right now the Burgess is a 9k. And the bond clay will be able to take the Burgess's attack stat. But I do Tempest Kick first, and I do this just to get a draw off and still pop. The black hole itself would have got there anyway, but I'm really looking for any type of options here to try to get myself into a better position. You see I'm down to 2 cards in hand, swinging for 5, and I believe I still have to pitch for turn, and I see a finger pistol and a Laboon, and I think it's going to be the Laboon here because the finger pistol I'm going to need for removal. And he does counter out and pass his turn, or I pass turn after he counters out. And I believe at this point is where he establishes a Big Mom, and I should have trusted my gut. And you're going to see here in a second, we'll let the turn go by. So he swings 5. He might as well puts pressure on my life, because if not, the law is going to die. And you do see here the finger pistol out of life was exactly what I needed here. It's going to buff Burgess to 10k now and removes the body on the field, which now it's one that I have to worry about. And here you saw my era begins, a Lafitte, and I still have finger pistol, and I should have trusted my gut, because if I was able to find a Van Auger from my stage search, I would have been able to double Van Auger and then finger pistol the Lin off the field to remove pressure. But it does put me in a pretty awkward spot. So yeah, you see there, I contemplate doing that because I basically need to find a Van Auger in the search, but I have a Lafitte that can search and also serve as a pseudo blocker, or a Myra Begins, and I do the Lafitte search instead, and I do find a Van Auger when I could have just did stage first, or I could have did Myra Begins for 1 Don, then pitched whatever else to search another 3, and worst case is I would have found my Van Auger for 1 Don, leaving me with 5 to play the Van Auger and another 4 to do finger pistol. So you see here I did miscalculate my Don. My opponent did let me take it back, and I am going to end up grabbing the Vasco shot instead. At a big tournament, obviously, you're not going to want to let your opponent do this, but pretty much we're testing the decks to see how well we can get it to go. So he did let me take it back, and I grab a Vasco shot, which I'm going to end up saving because it can come in handy since I'm pretty much negating all the on plays. I did do my Era Begins to grab another card. At this point, I'm just trying to fill the trash up for Burgess to get up there. I believe right now it's currently at an 11k. And then I pitch the finger pistol, and I grab a 10 drop, basically to get myself ready for next turn. And at this point, I have to pretty much put pressure on him. He has 1 Don up, as you see, and that pretty much signifies that he has a Gum Gum Giant in hand. So I'm gonna swing 3 with the Van Auger first, and I do this so that it forces him to have to use the Gum Gum Giant right here. Oh no, it looks like I swing 7 first. So the 7 here is gonna pretty much either make him give me a 2k and a 1k, and then the next swing will pretty much go through with the Van Auger. But it does still gonna allow him to cycle out his hand to find potentially something else and get rid of a brick from his hand. Which you see the Luffy Taro goes away, he draws 2, gets out of this initial swing. And then now here he's either gonna have to take it or give me 3 cards to get out of this, because swinging 9k to the 5, he's gonna need 2 2ks and a 1 or 3 2ks. So here he does decide to take the life. Potentially would have just been better to swing 9 first, to get the Gum Gum Giant and 1 extra card and then swinging for 7. Ultimately probably would have been the same. And you see I am counting out Burgess, so ends up swinging for 11. He takes that. And I play out a Vasco shot and I pitch the one that is not the 10 drop. Oh, it looks like I do pitch a 10 drop. I think I have 2 10 drops in my hand currently. I cannot recall at this very moment. But yeah, this game is pretty tedious for Blackbeard. It's not unwinnable. It's more bearable than the Doflamingo matchup. You pretty much have to play this to a T though, trying to remove the board as it's coming. One misstep can pretty much lose you the game, however. And you're going to see what happens towards the end of the game. Little greediness lost me the way. So here he's contemplating on what to do exactly. I have 1 life. And this is why I established the Vasco shot, since I was unable to remove the Big Mom. So he's unable to go directly for life because he has got nothing to rest the Vasco shot. He's got nothing that can give himself rush, because all the rush cards in Pluffy all require at least a Don minus on play. So I take away the rush. It's at best going to force him to try to swing at stuff. So he swings at the Van Auger. And it's not a bad choice. Getting rid of the Van Auger will take a swing away that I am trying to put on my opponent. And I decide to give him, well, you see I'm deciding on whether to counter or block and save it. But I decide to let it go, taking the draw, and then now Burgess gets the buff, putting it at, looks like at this point, it's currently probably at a 13 at this point, because I have 2 dice on Burgess. And yeah, it looks like right here, this is where my opponent decides to try to swing big at the Burgess. And I have enough counter to basically save it. Oh no, he swings 8 at life. He's putting the pressure on me. I could give him the Vasco shot here, which is what I am considering on doing. Taking the life would not have been a bad idea, however, since the Vasco shot could have lived, and it gives me another play to kind of shift through. And you see there, I do give him the Vasco shot there instead. And he plays out the 6 cost Sanji, which is a blocker. This kind of hinders my plans here because I was going to try to go lethal. But, you know, first getting rid of the Van Auger was a problem for me. And then now I'm just going to establish a 10 drop, nullifying the Big Mom and his leader. I could have potentially just nullified his Sanji and try to just put pressure, swinging 5 at life and then 11 with the Burgess, or 13 with the Burgess. But I have to go this route because potentially he just give me the Sanji here. But 1 down up, again, we know it's going to be another Gum Gum Giant, which is honestly the MVP for purple decks at this very moment, in my opinion. 4K. Pitch a brick, draw 2, potentially counter out of a bigger swing. So yeah, you see it's getting a little antsy. This is a very good game that I had with my opponent. Ended up finishing second at this local, obviously, because I lost in this matchup to my opponent. And again, you're going to see it in pretty much the upcoming turns. But yeah, you see here, he's using the Giant, pitches another Luffy Taro, draws 2, and he still has a grip. This Gum Gum Giant is perfect. So that gets him to 9, 10, 11, and he has to pitch another 2K, and he gives Usahachi, getting him over the 13. So I am at 12K with the Burgess right now, is what I'm currently at. And I have 1 card in hand. My opponent only has 2 swings since the Big Mom is currently nullified and cannot swing. And I think at this point, this is where he tries to go for the Burgess. I think I have currently a 1K in my hand and 3 cards until Burgess gets an extra 1K. So he does swing 13. I counter out, keep putting him to 12. Or I believe it was 13. I don't know. But me countering out right there gave it the extra 1K it needed. And then its own ability gives us its extra 1K buff to be able to get out of that swing. And this is where my misplay happens. I tried to be very greedy here and try to go lethal and go for game. You see he has 2 Gum Gum Giants up. I needed to find potentially a 10 drop to be able to get out of this turn and stall for 1 more turn. Being able to, stun the mom. But that, however, wouldn't work because I do need to be able to find an extra card. And I do have Luffy there, so I did stage and found a Vasco shot. And then this is where I really should have thought the turn through, because you're going to see here, I'm going to swing and I'm going to just try to go for lethal at this point. I thought Burgess was big enough. Thought I had enough Don to kind of spread it out between Teach, my 10 drop Teach, and my leader in Burgess. And you see I'm attaching 4, thinking about swinging for 9 to get the Gum Gum Giant from his hand. But I realize I'm going to need a little bit more, because who knows if he has 2 or not. And this is where it kind of all goes wrong in my opinion. Because what I could have did was search with the Vasco, search with the Lafitte to get 1 more card in my hand so that I could be able to pitch for leader ability. And then the rest of the Don I could have left on my leader. And you see here, I'm really contemplating on what to do. But if I would have played it like that, I would have had 1 extra Don or 1 extra card in hand. I could have played the Vasco shot, swung big with my lead at that point. Since I'm wasting 3 Don, it would have been a 12K swing with my leader, which would have forced the Gum Gum Giant from his hand and also more cards, and then swung with Burgess, which would have potentially got the Sanji or the rest of his hand, and then pass turn, pitching the last card I searched from the Lafitte to disable all of his on plays, because then it would have left my 10 drop and my Vasco shot to easily block 2 hits, so he wouldn't be able to go for game. And you see there, I believe that was Anarchy trying to see what I had in my hand. Debating exactly how to go about this, because again, this is pretty much for game at this point to try to see who's going to win it all. And this kind of goes all the way back to the very beginning of when I first was trying to get rid of the Big Mom. So he does take the swing of Burgess, and I decided to swing of Burgess first and not waste all my Don. And when he took that hit, I've had a feeling that he was bluffing the Gum Gum Giants, and such a bad gut feeling because I was completely wrong. So I swing 13 with a Teach, thinking that he didn't have it and it would give me the Sanji, and I'll just go for 14 with leader. And ultimately he did have the Gum Gum Giant. So he's going to Don -2, pitch a card, getting himself up to 9, drawing 2, and still has to get out of, I believe, 5K. So it pitches another 1-3, so that's 4. Pitches 5 cards to get out of that swing right there, which again could have was not expecting a giant. Well, I was expecting it, but him taking that life, I thought he bluffed it. So that's my first mistake right there. And instead, at this point, I'm trying to figure out exactly what to do. And you see it, I considered undoing the Luffy ability, which is why there's one Don separated. And instead of doing that, I'm going to just deciding to swing big with Luffy to try to get past. And hope to God he doesn't have 2 cards in hand, because if not, I could get through potentially with an 8k swing. So I swing for 7 with Lafitte here. And he's really considering, and he has the exact counter that is needed. So I swing for 6, taking that Sanji. Play the Vasco shot. No cards in hand, so I was unable to pitch for leader ability. And here, this is where I'm going to lose. He's going to swing out, and he draws top decks the secret Rush Luffy, which is exactly the card he needed to have for the win. So just goes to show you, think the turn's thoroughly. There are more options than just trying to go for lethal. Could have baited out another turn. But if you guys like the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below what you guys thought of the match, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.